Okay, it's taking a little longer. There we go, the little wheel. Okay, here we go, everybody. Welcome back to the Hospitality Sales Masterclass Week 2. You did wonderful. You guys are an excellent group. I just got caught up on everything on Facebook and on emails. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people that have turned in their homework assignments. Or I'm trying not to say that. Let me go to, I'm going to stop share for a second. Sorry. Let me admit Amy. Okay, go back to sharing. So that's awesome. And there were several that completed the assignment. We've got some that have come close that have like 7 and 8, but you guys are rock stars. I mean, woo. Hey, I do this a little bit. Let's wake ourselves up. Let's celebrate. I mean, it's a little cheesy, but you know, can't we use a little bit of cheesy right about now with all the stuff that's going on? I mean, why
Absolutely.
not? Let's just knock it out. So, okay, whoops. Is there, oh, we got someone in the chat. Okay, good. Participation rules. You know, I like to go over everything because repetition is key. So, everybody fully dialed in. We've got our devices turned off. If you can turn on your cameras, that's great. I like to see your little heads over there. It like lets me know where you're at. That would be wonderful. I think everyone is on the Facebook group here. Is there anybody who hasn't joined the Facebook group? Okay, that's good. Has anyone watched last week's session again? Did anybody go back and watch the session, or did you just go right from what we did last week?
I did not get a chance to watch it again. I'm sorry.
I watched it twice.
Oh, good. Chris, you watched it twice?
It's Amy. Sorry. Yes.
Sorry, Amy. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Pardon?
I just went right into the homework. It took a little longer than expected.
Okay. Robert, you were one of the ones who got it all done. Good job.
It took long.
Okay. So we're at the end, we'll like talk about best practices and how that worked. Did anybody watch any of the bonus interviews? I posted 3 of them. There's more on there, but I put them up on the top. Yeah,
I saw the one with Pat Zolman. That was great. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Isn't that wonderful? Great. I will post 3 more of those up this week. If you go down into the feed, you can find some more of them, but I put them in there just so that they're up on the feed so that you can see them. Now, I had a couple people ask that if you haven't done the assignment, we'll talk about that at the end, but the assignment is to earn your $97 seat reservation back. So if you didn't do the assignment, that doesn't mean that you can't show up here. You can absolutely show up here and you can continue to participate and watch everything and be on the Facebook group where we have the, let's see if it lets me. I have to stop share to let someone in. Okay, good. And I'll share again. Hi, Tori. Welcome. Okay, there we go. So it's doing the assignment and attending these or watching them if you can't attend. We've got someone who's traveling. Gabe is on an interview. Cindy's traveling. Ronnie's not feeling very well, so she's not with us. But we can, you can watch the replay, and that fulfills the requirement of attending. And it's just really great. Amy, I'm glad that you watched it a couple of times. That's wonderful. I do want to just do one thing again, because repetition is key. I'm just going to say it out loud, the commitment contract. I commit to show up fully for the duration of the Hospitality Sales Masterclass. This includes doing everything in the Hospitality Sales Masterclass, watching every lesson, and completing each fun sheet to the best of my ability. Those were fun little sheets. Some of you really had some fun doing it. And I did get, Rob, you're not the only one who said that it took some effort. So okay, sorry, good. I have to stop sharing here because I don't know how to do it better than doing that while I admit everybody in. I'll go back to sharing my screen. So I, each fund sheet, I further commit to excellent. I love this part. I love this part, especially with what we're going on in the pandemic and especially with what's happening in the hospitality industry. I further commit to excellent self-care, including getting quality sleep, staying hydrated, and moving my body. The more I care for myself, the more love and compassion I have to share with others. I commit to bringing an open mind, a generous heart, and my fullest and best effort to this experience. So those are the participation rules. And let me go to the next slide. So again, in the spirit of repetition is key, on our August 8th call, I talked about the truth. And as I was updating the slides to make sure that I had everything for today's call, I thought, I'm going to talk about the truth again as well, because we had some great participation on the assignments. And I think that this is my little nudge. This is my coaching for all of you who are coachable. This is my little coaching, my little nudge, so that you can earn your $97 seat deposit back. The truth. You're going to understand all of the principles I share with you here today, as there's nothing but logical information here. You're going to agree with them. You're going to know that I am right and that these principles will work in your business, and then you will still not do them. So for those of you who have a few more folks to get to complete assignment from this first week, and those of you who haven't started yet, that's your little nudge to go over the truth. We also talked about the site selection professional's mindset, and I shared really about the fact that everybody's 100% commission. I would say most, and all the larger organizations, the Helms Briscoes, the Conference Directs, the HPNs, folks are 100% commission, and what that means and what that leap of faith is in oneself. That's the leap of faith. That's where, that you can, when you show up, when you look in the mirror, there you always are. And you know that you will always show up for yourself. That's part of the site selection professionals mindset. And then we did our calls to the 10 site selection professionals. And as I shared, we'll get to that more on the end. But does anybody want to say anything about last week's call? Chime in, say their bigger takeaways that they had from last week's call. Anything except the assignment, because we'll cover the assignment at the end. I could tell that you guys are all really actively working by all the Facebook interaction and the emails that I received. So does anybody have anything about the site selection professional mindset that that really stood out to them?
I just think for me, this is Tracy, just the tenacity that they all have. They don't have a paycheck coming in unless they make that happen, so I so respect that. And staying positive was something that I felt from everyone that I spoke with, despite the dreariness of the market the way it is. But that's what I took away. The tenacity is so important that, they really got the get up and go on their own. And that's what it takes. So it was a delight to connect with everyone, and they enjoyed hearing from someone, and which was nice, as opposed to sending an email. I think the personal interaction was great.
Wonderful.
Even if it took an email first. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tracy. Anybody else want to share anything that they got with regard to the site selection professionals mindset from last week's call?
I thought that your just your idea, Michelle, about how to fine tune, your subject line in your emails was really helpful. And also the concept of understanding that if you're working with a really seasoned third party versus someone who's new to the business, that they're kind of coming from a different place, and just being compassionate to that as well.
Wonderful. Thanks. Anybody else want to add anything to that? To what Tracy and Deborah shared with us?
This is Amy. I know listening to you and talk about the leap of faith and a commission only, and the process and the length of time it took to really start seeing anything lucrative come in. it like at one point gave me anxiety, and another point I'm like, oh my gosh, like that takes a really strong person. But then of course I'm not going to talk up too much about our assignment, but talking to these planners, that we talked about that a lot. And it was like, you know, especially during COVID and everything going on right now, one of the questions I kept asking was, hey, are you guys getting an influx of, you know, recruitment from salespeople that have been laid off? And we're like, surprisingly, no. You know, I've had people tell me they're going into real estate, which is commission only. And I've had people tell me they're, you know, and I'm hearing all these stories, and it's like, it's kind of remarkable to me the lack of faith that people might have in themselves, and just the level of fear to kind of enter into this. But it was just interesting to hear your mindset and then hear it from other people as well. And I think that's important for us salespeople to know too, like you said, to just know how to approach you guys and be, you know, empathetic and respect the, you know, what you've had to do to get to where you are.
Wonderful. You guys, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to really let that sink in and to understand it and even have it come through in your assignments. That's wonderful. I'll take one more share before we go on. Does anybody else want to share? Okay, we'll move on. Wonderful. Thanks, guys, for sharing. I really appreciate it. Okay, so today, before I start to share my screen with you, I am going to share with you how to create proposals that stand out. That's what you want to know, is you guys want to know when you get those proposals from your site selection professionals, and you can do this with any of the proposals that you get, to be perfectly candid. This is how you create proposals that stand out. And the thing that was interesting to me, and it was interesting to friends of mine that are in this space as I was doing the market research, is, and it's interesting, especially in the pandemic. Michelle Carlin is going to join us on our 4th call to go over how to be in alignment. And I know that there's, like I said, Gabe is on an interview today. So there's a couple folks that are in that furlough stage and working toward getting back into the industry. And her big thing in dealing with a crisis, because she dealt with that in Santa Barbara when they had the fires up in LA and the mudslides that came afterwards, is communication. Communication is so key. And when I shared with all the site selection professionals that getting the challenge of getting us to return a phone call, the challenge of getting us to respond to an email, the communication, the third party side of that is, if I could just get somebody to respond to the RFP, like, can you guys just give us a proposal? Every time I went to a conference when I was with Helms Briscoe, it was like a mantra, like, please answer the RFP, please. And I'm going to go into this a little bit further, but then it was followed up with, and could you please just answer all of the questions that we ask? So it's in, you know, both sides. Communication takes two. I don't often do this, but I'm just getting tinglies while I'm about to say this. I'm going to share something personal with you. I went through a divorce, and prior to going through the divorce, I went to counseling, and I had a really challenging counseling session. And I can remember talking to my counselor afterwards, and I said, you know, hey, you said you were going to make both of us work in this marriage counseling session. And I felt like last time it was all focused on me. And he said, well, yeah, you know, I did focus on you because you said, hey, you want to learn not just how to communicate better for your marriage, but you also mentioned that you're in a business, and that if you learn to communicate better in your marriage, you'll also be a better communicator in your business. And I said, yes. And I said, but here's the problem. I said, I can be the best communicator in the world, but if somebody doesn't want to listen, and I use the example, and I'm not particularly religious, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious, but I find God is even if you don't believe in God, if you're atheist, even if you don't believe in God, we all know the concept, right? I can't possibly imagine a better communicator than God, okay? And yet, not everybody knows right from wrong. right? Or maybe we know right from wrong, but we don't always follow the right path. And so what I'm sharing with you with regard to communication is you can be the best communicator, but if the person on the other side isn't listening to you fully or isn't fully tuned in, then you're having a challenging time. And part of doing the proposal right is first to understand the RFP. And the second part is to, one of the things that I think is a gift from this pandemic is that we're all slowing down. You know, we're not as stressed out because there's not traffic going to and from the job if you're going back and forth to work, if you're not home officing. You know, even if you're out running errands, yeah, there's not as much traffic. That's helpful because doing the errand takes a little bit longer, but everything is just slowing down. I'm actually, and I'm a spa girl, I'm actually loving the fact that I'm not getting manicures and pedicures because that was something that took time out of my every 2 weeks to get those done. Like there's so many blessings in this. And I think that slowing down is something that is great that we can carry forward when the pandemic is behind us. And I'm stressing this slowing down and taking the time to read the RFP 3 times. I'm thinking of the tortoise and the hare scenarios where the tortoise ended up getting there faster or at the same time, but just actually the tortoise got there faster in the fable. But that's because it was very methodical, took their time, wasn't so, racing all around like your head's spinning off. So slow down and read the RFP 3 times. Actually, someone watched the video with Pat Zolman. Pat Zolman actually taught me this when she taught me how to review contracts. And you're going to read the RFP the first time to look for everything in the RFP that isn't there that you need. Maybe there's no history and you might need the history for it. Maybe somebody didn't put in a food and beverage minimum. They put in that they have food and beverage, but they didn't put the budget in. Read the RFP for everything that isn't in there. And then read the RFP for everything that is in there. Hot buttons, things that special questions that are asked. Read for all those extra things. And then read the RFP a 3rd time and take a step up and back and look at the RFP in its totality. How Pat shared this in contracts is you can look at each individual clause, but then you have to look at how all the clauses work together, because the contract isn't a section by a section. The contract is the whole thing. Same thing with the RFP. You need to take a look at the entire RFP, like take a step out and back. And what is the purpose of this meeting? What is this meeting trying to accomplish? Why do they have so many breakout rooms? Why don't they have breakout rooms? Why do they have the set that they have? Is there a purpose behind that? There's different, just take a step and like look at it in its totality and figure out what that meeting is trying to accomplish on behalf of the attendees. So read the RFP 3 times, just taking what we're learning here in this pandemic to slow down and making it work for us going forward. So here's a proposal checklist for you to take going forward. Make note of the hot buttons. I can't share with you how many times when I have talked, when we've done panels, when I've been at events or listening as a hotel sales professional myself, if you've gone through any training, what are the hot buttons? What are the hot buttons? What are the hot buttons? If somebody says, my hot button is that I need to have 2 per 6 feet, that's their hot button. Don't try and put them in a 3 per 6 foot situation. Another hot button. Meeting planners are human beings. Our clients, my clients, are human beings. Human beings come, even if even if if somebody else is writing the check and they're not personally writing the check, human beings come with their own biases. So I had one client, she would not pay move in and move out AV fees. I don't care what happened. And I would put that on the RFP in bold letters because that was something I had to work on with every single contract with her. I had to work on it. I had another client that they had to have a learning environment, which meant that for the series of training meetings, they went back to the same meeting room. That was his learning environment. That was his hot button. I'm trying to think of some clients, they think paying for parking is ridiculous. Like, I can't believe that I'm going to pay whatever it is for parking. And it's San Diego that happened because San Diego, except for downtown, didn't always charge for parking. And then all of a sudden, like at some particular point in time, like everybody charges for parking. You know, if somebody is going to drive around the block, my same former husband that I mentioned earlier, he would drive around the block like 15, 20 times because he just wouldn't pay for parking. If I were to ever have sourced a program for that man, he wouldn't have spent the company's money any differently than he would have spent his own. So each client will come with their own biases, and those are their hot buttons. So if we put a hot button in there, pay attention to it. Make sure you know, whoops, I'm trying to move this over. Make sure you know all of the deal breakers. So for instance, that client who had to have a learning environment, they had 8 meetings where the same attendees attended each of the 8 meetings. The deal breaker was if you wanted 5 of those meetings, you had to take all 8. If 5 worked out for you that they were really great and 3 didn't make it through Rev Max, I can't tell you how many. I mean, I had it on bold, I had it in red, I had it everywhere. This is the whole piece of business. It's not, I can't tell you how many people sent that proposal back with 1 meeting date. What are some other deal breakers? The one client that wouldn't pay for move in and move out fees. That was a deal breaker. State per diem. If the client says, I need the state per diem, if it's required, that's a deal breaker. Same thing with the federal per diem. If somebody says that that's required, then that's a deal breaker. Pay attention to those. Now, here's where you get a little bit more sophisticated. If you can't do the state per diem, but you really want the business, you can at least in the notes say, I know that you need the state per diem. This is as close as I can get. That's it, you acknowledge the deal breaker in your proposal. Because I don't want anybody, especially in this environment, to be turning business away. You know, instead of saying no, say, I hear you, and this is what I can do. I'm super excited. When I get super excited, I catch the tone in my voice. It's kind of like I'm on a soapbox. That's just me being excited. So I'm not like hammering anything home here. I'm just like all amped up because I'm so excited to see you guys. Here's the big thing that if for every time you guys have said or thought, could they just return my phone call? Could they just respond to my email? I guarantee you for every time you've thought that, we have thought, could they just respond to all of our questions? Answer all of the questions. If the questions are in there, answer them. Leave off the fluff. So I've been training some new Avery Murphy rock stars. And in training the new Avery Murphy rock stars, I share that the RFP process and the process that Avery Murphy does to do their site selection is like dating. So I share that as we, site selection professionals, create RFPs, the RFPs are created to sell the piece of business to your hotel. As someone who walked in your shoes for 13 years, I know that anyone on this call ever had this experience. You've been calling on an account, calling on an account, calling on an account. The account finally pops and you get the RFP and you're like, oh my God, how on earth am I going to get that through RevMax? Like, like, wow, this is about as ugly a baby as it gets. Like the rooms to space ratio is off, the budget is off, the pattern is off. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? When you are submitting, now I'm mostly talking about Cvent proposals here. I'm not talking about folks that are still doing things without the technology of Cvent. If they're not doing it with the technology of Cvent, they're probably not sourcing as many properties, and you might want to add a little bit of fluff. But if you're sourcing through Cvent, Cvent is like the dating profile. Okay, you put your profile in, and what the client is doing is they're like, yep, that looks good. Nope, that's not going to work. Yep, that works. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Yep, that works. Nope, that doesn't work. The fluff doesn't do anything for you in Cvent. The fluff, where you want to do the fluff is when you are either at the shortlist with the client or you're doing site inspections with the client. Adding all the fluff into Cvent is not the best use of your time. Answering all the questions is the best use of your time. Making sure that you note the deal breakers. I hear what you need. This is what we can do. Hot buttons. Make sure you address all of the hot buttons, but all that fluff, oh, we just did a blankety blank renovation, and you are thinking of your owners piping to you like, oh my gosh, we just spent $10 million on renovating this. Make sure you tell everybody. The expectation is that your property is updated on a periodic basis. That's important to your owners. That's kind of fluff when it comes to the client. They're expecting that. That's something that'll get brought up further down the road. That's just an example of fluff. Complete the meeting space. So it is really good if you can put in what meeting rooms you are proposing. Not just that I have availability, these are the meeting rooms that we are proposing. And that way, some of the more detailed meeting planners, and let's face it, most meeting planners are detail oriented. That's their whole job. That's their gig, right? They want to look and see, they'll pull up your diagram from what they can see in Cvent. They'll pull up the floor plans. They'll take a look at it, and they'll look for the meeting space flow. They'll look for whether or not, let's see, let me do a stop share and see if we've got one more person. Nope, we don't. Okay. Let me go back to screen share. They're gonna look to see if you have enough meeting space. You really want to complete the meeting space. It's just gonna get you one step further. That's, again, spend your time on the hot buttons, the deal breakers, answering all of the questions and answering the meeting space, and all this other stuff about included in, we are a 320 room resort, and we have bicycles that people can take to enjoy downtown. And, we have a world-class spa, unless it's a spa group, that is all on the, you'll see on Cvent, that's all on the link about your property. That's just fluff. And when they get our search results, which you're going to see what those look like next week, you're going to see it's a lot of information. So really leave off the fluff, but putting in the meeting space, that's not fluff. That's essential. Where are we looking at? And complement the site selection professional. Even if you don't complement the site selection professional, in the comment section, you can say, hey, thanks, Michelle, for sending us the RFP. I've worked with so-and-so at Avery Murphy, and you guys are really great to work with. As you know, thank you for taking the time to put all of the history in. That makes it so much easier for us to quote the best available group rate for you. Thank you for including the hot buttons so that I could address them and make sure that I have everything that you needed here. Not just, you know, hey, Michelle, I really like you and your red hair is great. That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is that, you know, you have that you have a good reputation in the marketplace. Now, I think it was Tracy, you had mentioned that you, I can't remember if it was Tracy or Debbie that mentioned that the difference between new and rock stars that had a mature portfolio. I think that was you, wasn't it, Debbie?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Deborah. That is a case where you might want to say, hey, you know, worked with a lot of other Helms Briscoe associate. Helms Briscoe has a great reputation in the marketplace. Or you might want to say something like this. This is another way to compliment a site selection professional that's effective, and it complements the client as well. It's really nice to see a client working with a site selection professional because they're like, they speak our language, they interpret things right. So, you know, working with site selection professionals is, you know, for us is working smarter versus working harder too. So I'm glad to see that your client is working with you. Anybody have any questions on any of the proposal checklist?
A question.
Yes, Fran.
Where does the site selection specialist pull other than city locations? Are they more preferred providers that they go to? Or where do they generate their information to qualify?
To qualify which hotels they include in the RFP?
Correct.
Okay, so there's two different kind of two different buckets on that. Okay, some site selection professionals, Avery Murphy falls into this category. Our philosophy is that we want to do a wider search, we cast a wider net, because hotel rooms are perishable commodities. And the only way that we can really tell what's happening in a marketplace is by doing a wide search. We'll oftentimes include a property that's a little lower than what our client is looking for. Like if they're looking for a solid 4-star hotel, we'll look at 3.5-star hotels, and we'll also look at a 5-star hotel just to see what's happening in the marketplace at that time over those dates so that we can see that. So that we can really analyze what our search results will look like. And when you see my Cvent screen, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Okay, thank you.
There's more to it. Some other site selection professionals, and you'll hear from one of them in the video, Brett Sorensen. Brett Sorensen doesn't do a large search. He says that that's lead saturation, and for his clients he does a smaller pool because he wants to like just find exactly what his client is looking for and hone that process in for them. So it can go from that, from the way that I like to do it to the way that Brett likes to do it. It's not that there's a right or a wrong. There's like kind of two different camps there. The other thing that I will share with that is Cvent gives us the opportunity to look at different areas. That we can either look by number of guest rooms, we can look by the largest meeting space, depending on how we want to look at that. That part I'm not going to show you in Cvent. Cvent will also share with us, do you want city center? Do you want resort? Do you want that? So there's these filters that we can all look through. So if you have some filters that you want to, well, we got someone here. Let me stop sharing for a second. If you have a filter that you want to make sure that you're in, you want, you know, if you're a resort and you want to do that, make sure that you put that in the filters of Cvent. So if somebody's looking for a specific type of property, you get that. Cvent is very accessible. If you are not sure that your hotel is filled into Cvent completely, I would talk to Cvent and have somebody walk you through to make sure that you're showing up on each one of those filters. That's the one part. The second part is when you're educating your site selection professionals about your property, you want to share the creative ways that you compete. So, for instance, let me give you, I'm trying to think of an example, and wine country is coming up for me right now. So Tracy, I'm sitting there looking at Monterey. I'll use Monterey as an example.
There you go.
We have some clients that say that they want to do their board meeting in the Napa. And they really want it to be in Napa. They want it to be in Napa and not Sonoma. You know, like they know the difference. Like they know the difference of those, like, you know, they really want to be at Russian River, but they don't want to, you know, they really want to be there. And it's like, yeah, you and everybody. And now there's only a couple of hotels. And oh, by the way, we have to educate the client that not every hotel is sitting out there just waiting for that piece of business for that set of dates. Oh, they're just waiting for you. No, they've been selling their property the entire time. So when I have clients that are looking in Napa, because some of the, this is where you can maybe use your CVBs or your destination management companies. The Monterey CVB has done such a great job with different FAM events and everything. And I got to experience Monterey and understand that there's a whole huge wine country there. And, you know, to go to Napa, a lot of people fly into San Jose. If you're going to fly into San Jose, it's just as easy to go to Monterey as it is to go to Napa. It's
Even
like
closer. Yeah.
it's the same distance. So if you have a unique property, take the time to educate whenever you're going to a hosted buyer event, whenever you're talking to clients. I don't know that you that's not going to be part of your fluff. See, if you're putting that into the fluff part, they already got to you. What you want to do is go before that so that they can get to you. Did that answer your question, Fran?
Yes, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And whoops. Okay. So now we're going to take you behind the scenes and I'm going to show you Cvent. We've got a couple of test RFPs in here, but we still have some active RFPs. And the first one that I'm going to share with you is this CSR board meeting. And this is a nice little piece of business. It's 100 rooms on peak. Midweek, that doesn't make it necessarily as attractive because it's coming in on Tuesday, Wednesday. And this is, you'll see in a minute where we're searching. But their rooms to space ratio is pretty good. They're not a real big space hog. So this is an attractive piece of business. Best available rate is what we've asked for. Okay. So concessions are pretty cool. Now I'm going to go to suppliers and responses. And this is what I look at. This is where I go to leave the fluff off. I look at this and I go, okay, Courtyard, Mission Valley, $1. I'm having a conversation with Susan and I'm like, clearly you made a typo. Can we get the right rate here so that I know if this is supposed to be, you know, $1,000, $100, like I want to get the right rate here. If Beth or if Shannon calls me from the Kimpton and says, hey, Michelle, how does my proposal look? I'll say, you know what, Shannon, you're at 229 and everybody else is hanging out in the mid to high 100s. You're going to have to come under $100 to really receive consideration from this group. Same thing with the Catamaran Resort. I'm going to talk to Sydney and I'm going to say, if she talks to me, I'm going to say, if you have an in-house group and that's the best rate you can quote, great. But if you want to know what it's going to take to earn this business, you're going to have to go back and sharpen your pencil. Crown Plaza. This property compared to some of the other properties, that rate is in line. But if this 135 were at, let's say, the Wyndham, San Diego, Mission Bay, because product for product, the Crown Plaza in Mission Valley and the Wyndham, San Diego, Bayside, they're kind of similar products in that, I mean that they're older products that have kind of been renovated, but like the exterior never got that full renovation. So it's looking like it was built in the 70s and it still looks like it was built in the 70s. But the Wyndham San Diego Bayside has an amazing location. An amazing location. So if the Wyndham San Diego Bayside was quoting 135, I might call Anna up and say, hey, Anna, obviously you have a hole that you need to fill because the other downtown properties are quoting 189. I know that 135 is a screaming deal for your property, but you might want to just like go above the 150 mark. Let's maybe make this up in the concessions. So this is what we look at. This is what I look at to determine when I'm making recommendations to my clients. And I don't make recommendations. Our clients select the shortlist. So this was already going further into the response. Our clients select the shortlist. As you can see, this was from 2020 that we did this in February. This search will be going back out to see what the pricing is like currently for 2021. But this, I do, and I'll show you this tomorrow in my search results or in my cover letter to my email, I'll say, hey, you've got some great properties here to choose from. The ones that I'm particularly excited with for you is let me just tell you, because I know San Diego so well, the ones that really excite me that I know are a great value. Marriott Mission Valley is going to be a great one for this group because of its location in Mission Valley.
Michelle?
They're going to like the Dana Mission Bay. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Chris Kiesling, how are these sorted on this page? Are they sorted? It looks like they're not sorted by rate value.
No.
And are they sorted by who returns the Cvent first?
No, they just, I don't know how they pick this up. I don't know how this gets sorted.
So it's not, they don't prioritize who is the fastest on returning the proposal. Okay.
No. They just come in. So this is really what we look at. And then I'm going to go into, let's go into this one.
Can I ask a quick question, Michelle?
Sure, Deborah, please.
When you talked about that Wyndham and that you might go back to them and say you might want to bump if they had come in at a 135, that you might want them to bump their rate up. Mm-hmm. Were you saying that because you felt like that low rate devalued, maybe like the client would think, oh, what's going on with this hotel?
Exactly.
Okay. This one, that's what I was assuming, but I just wanted to confirm.
Thank you. Yeah, it's rare that I have those conversations, but I have had those conversations. Right. some, you know, and it has nothing to do with if the rate's higher, I'm going to make a larger commission. It has everything
Right.
to do with if I think that that's a really good value for the client. Okay, this is why you guys are in the hospitality sales masterclass. You want to know what the behind the scenes is. I will do my best to get my clients to think differently. You know, this particular client always goes to the Hiltons. Their board always selects Hiltons. So when a client starts doing that, I want to open up their mind to something else.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to say, okay, that Hilton's really great, but have you ever looked at the Dana on Mission Bay? The Dana on Mission Bay is blah, 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 blah. And if I wanted, like in this case, if I wanted the Wyndham to be in this because I know that they're a great value, I'll call up Anna and I'll like say, hey, Anna, I want to try and get you to the short list.
Mhm.
I want to try and get this client to move off of Hilton. And if you'd like to get some of this business, then can you do a 179 rate? It'll help me do that a little bit.
But
I
the,
just
the,
picked
the
up
first thing you see is that list just with the rate. So like if I'm going in, you know, at a higher rate, but I've got a chock full of concessions and master account credits and everything,
I'm not going to see it. It's
I'm
not.
not going to see it. Okay.
I'm not going to see it right here.
Got
Can
it.
I ask a question on that too?
Yeah. And
To Deborah's
this is
point.
further in the search. So these aren't separated out. We're further in the search. We have
Got
the
it.
ability to put the short list so that it doesn't, to Chris's point, like, hey, how is this sorted? How can I stand out? This is a newer feature that Cvent did so that when we get further in, that we don't have to keep trying to find the hotel.
Got it.
Go ahead. What were you going to ask, Tracy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so, you know, if we were given the RFP, that means that we were requested, the client requested to see a proposal from us, or you recommended to your client that you should take a look at us, right?
Yes.
So so then if we submit the RFP and it all comes out like here on rates, do you show every proposal that you ask for to the client? Or
Yes.
do you have a bias and maybe not look at all of them?
So 99% of the time, we share everything that the hotels have shared with us with the clients.
Okay,
The
great.
only time that 1% is if, in this case, this client has a Hilton. I've had other clients, anybody I don't know who might be with a Hilton here. It's not that there's anything against Hilton. It's that the client is like pigeonholing themselves and they're not opening up to the other possibilities. Clients do that with Marriott's too. They start to pigeonhole themselves. Well, you know, and the reason that they do that is loyalty program. The reason that this hotel started to do Hilton is they started to do Hilton and then the board kept wanting to gather Hilton points while they were doing it. And we don't want that to be their decision-making criteria. We want them to look at the whole piece of business. I mean, like, look at all the options that they have. They might be turning down something killer that could really help them moving forward. And that's part of it's like a strategic meetings management thing that we're looking at. So it's not that, you know, anything that's Hilton, I want to move them off of Hilton. It's not that anything that's Marriott, I want to move them off of Marriott. I just want the client, if the client's like going down this road, I want to open their mind up. And some of you are with some independent properties. I think, Fran, your property is an independent property. You want someone like me going like, hey, Hilton's great, Marriott's great, those points are really great, but have you seen Fran's hotel? Like, let me tell you what Fran can do. Like, that's where we're starting to sell. And we might not get them to Fran's hotel this time, but then the client starts to open up a little bit, so that we can actually help them figure out what's going on. I'm going to do another one. Let me go here. Let me
This
show
is
you.
Robert.
Yes, Robert.
I work at an independent hotel as well in Anaheim. That's one of my biggest concerns is always trying to compete with, you know, the Marriotts and
Me too.
all of that. So, and I tried to send to this, like to yourself, I would send, you know, all of our information. If you're not in town, you know, and can't come to our property, I always try to give you as much information, pictures, specs, all that. But how do we help you help us stand out?
Let me I want to answer that question. Let me finish looking for the next RFP I want to share. Okay, so ask that again, Robert.
I was just wondering, as an independent hotel, we're competing against these big brands like Marriott. But how do we help? Like, if you're not in town and I can't have you come for a site inspection or stay at our property, I try to give as much information to you, like pictures, specs. How do we help you promote us as an independent against all these big name brands?
Here's how you do it. So what you do is whenever you're doing site inspections with a site selection professional, like everybody that you contacted on your list, what you share with them is, and here's the thing, this is the same sort of training that I give the Avery Murphy Rockstars, okay? I forgot about this until I was out with an Avery Murphy Rockstar and I was going to see a property in Del Mar, and it was an independent property at Del Mar, and we were just doing a familiarization site inspection. I was doing it as part of the training. Like, I wanted the Avery Murphy Rockstar to set up the training. The hotel partner said, hey, can you guys have lunch? Sure, we'll have lunch. We're sitting at lunch. And the hotel sales professional says, if you guys ever have a client and you need to take them to lunch, I will pick up your lunch. You don't have to do anything else. I will just come and say hi. I won't like be part of your whole meeting. I will pick up your client. I will pick up your and your client's lunch so that you can come to my property to experience it. If you offer that to a third party, especially right now, where we need to still entertain our clients, but we don't have the expenses to do that. Even if the one Avery Murphy Rockstar that had that opportunity, because it was a nice property in Del Mar, overlooked the ocean. It was gorgeous, and he hustled to get somebody there. He never could get anybody to go to lunch with him there. Just making that offer. Hey, if you need to entertain your client and you want to share with them, blah, 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 come to our hotel. We'll take you to lunch. If you can, breakfast, lunch. And all I'll do is come by, and you'll come by and you'll say, hey, Michelle, it's so great to see you. I'm so glad you brought your client here. If you guys want to see a room, I'm happy to show you a room. But if you don't have time for that today, I completely understand. So-and-so, you're so lucky to be working with Michelle. She's one of the great site selection professionals out there. I'm really glad to see that you're doing that. And I get to say, oh, Robert, he's one of the best hotel sales. And this is when I would use partner. He's one of the best hotel sales partners. He's like really top notch. I know when our groups come here that they're taken care of because he takes such great care of everybody. And I don't have to say that you picked up the lunch. I get to just say that I get to gush on you, you gush on me, and you got my client to your hotel.
Yeah.
That's a tactic that you can use. And all you have to do is put it out there. The amount of time that it'll get picked up on might not be it's not going to be that each one's going to do it. Now, let me share with you what I do with the Avery Murphy Rockstars. As I say, anytime we get an invitation from a destination or a hotel to go to a client event, we first of all ask you if you have availability. Like if somebody's saying, hey, Michelle, thanks for putting that great piece of business into Deborah, you're in Palm Springs, right? Pardon? Where are you at?
Tucson, Arizona.
You're in Tucson, Arizona. I'm sorry. I was
okay.
thinking of, so you're in Tucson, Arizona. So Deborah's in Tucson, Arizona, and she I'm trying to think of, she invites me because let's say there's some major golf tournament, some pro golf tournament, and she invites me and says, hey, Michelle, thanks for putting business in with us. I'd really like to have you as our guest. I might call her up and say, hey, Deborah, is there room for me to bring one more person? Can I bring a client? Now, if it's a major golf tournament, Deborah might say, oh gosh, Michelle, I don't have any room. I really don't. Thanks for thinking of us. Great. But Deborah might be like, oh God, I would love it if you could bring a client. Can you bring a client? Absolutely, you can bring a client. Not a problem. I'm gonna take you guys all out. Well, what I tell my Avery Murphy rock stars is like, okay, you've got one, send it to the 5 clients that you know absolutely love golf. Those 5 clients, the likelihood, let them know it's first come, first serve. You only have 1 spot available. The likelihood that you'll get 2 clients is not that probable, but all 5 of those clients got exposure to the Avery Murphy Rockstar. The same thing is true when you start, say, Robert, like, hey, by the way, when you're, if you're ever in Anaheim and you want to do the mouse ears, like, and you're doing site inspections and you just want to have some time with your client where it's just you and your client and there's nobody else hounding you, I'll take you to lunch. Mm-hmm. Even though we didn't take the short list, I'll take you to lunch. You can start with breakfast with us. I don't know that I would do dinner because you're not going to be able to, I wouldn't want to stick around for dinner for that. The ROI isn't as high. So I don't know that I do that. You want to make it make sense for your business and your organization as well. But that's a way to do it, is to give the associates something that they could do. It might be that, for folks right now, they don't have our budgets are smaller and we might not have done some swag. You might have some really cool swag hanging around and you say, hey, if I gave you some of this, would you be able to forward it on to your clients? Like, you can send it to your clients. It comes from you, if you have like extra bathrobes or something, like just their special clients, something, not the coffee, not the water bottles or the coffee mugs, but something special. That's a way to make the site selection professional look good and you get out there. Now, when you do that, like I shared with you, the one hotel in Del Mar, the Avery Murphy Rockstar killed himself trying to get somebody there. Do you think he tried to put business at that hotel? Like, he absolutely tried to put business at that hotel. It's like I might have lost somebody. Let me have to stop sharing my screen. Yep, we lost someone. Okay, so yeah, that would be the best way. And again, the likelihood that you get taken up on it is like this big. There was one time Christina on our team, when she got this in the beginning, she was like, oh my God, this is the best thing. And then she said, well, she would do one and then they would say no. And then she would do another and then they would say no. And then she'd do another. And I'm like, girlfriend, you're missing the whole point. Spray the whole infield here. And one time she had 5 people say yes. It was to some game in Sacramento. It wasn't the Kings basketball game. It was the baseball team. That's the feeder baseball team. And the people were delighted to be there. And she's like, oh my God, how am I going to handle 5 clients? I said, this is easy. Because she happened to have current clients as well as future clients in the mix. And I said, oh, this is great. Your current clients are going to sell your future clients. You're like golden. Like, and she's like, you're right. It totally worked. She sent it out to 20 people. The 15 people that said no knew all about that. That was actually some hotels in the Tahoe area that were doing that. So anytime you're doing a FAM or you can offer something, that's a way to get that exposure. With regard to the tchotchkes, you want to make sure that the site selection professional is going to forward them on. You don't just want to send them a box of tchotchkes. That's me brainstorming and stretching a little bit for you guys, just to give you guys something to think out of the box. I say that because I'm sitting here with a ton of swag and I can't give the stuff away. So the likelihood, and I haven't sent it out to my clients. Like I can't give the stuff away. So you want to, I'm using that as a brainstorming thing, but that doesn't mean if you sent it to Christina or, Brett Sorensen or I don't know who those people are. Christina, she might do it, but she, with COVID, but yeah, she'd mask up and go to post office and send all that stuff out if you gave it to her. I'm not saying that you have to. I'm just like trying to think of who would send it and who wouldn't. But a lunch invitation, absolutely. If you guys are open and you have people in your backyard that you want them to just have a client come by, can't hurt.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Very.
Okay. So let's go to this one and do these suppliers and responses. So this one is already closed. So you can see some of them withdrawn, some of them declined. This one didn't get sent, but at least all of these had people respond. But look at the rates, how they differ. 173 to 217 to 239. This was actually a federal per diem. That's why you're seeing so many 173s. This, as you can tell, got awarded to the Cape Ray. We did site inspections of all 3 of these hotels. Now, here's an interesting thing. Get a load of this. Unfortunately, this client isn't, it's the way that the organization works, the meeting planner gets rotated out. When I did it, he said, I always like the last property I see. That was the last property that he saw. That's the one that got it. Like, so, you know, as we work with our clients more, we start to pick up things like that. And if I had that information, I'm just going to be completely transparent with you because that's why you guys signed up. Had I had that information, which property do you think I would have waited to be last to show him? I'll give it to you. It was the Wyndham San Diego Bayside. Why would I have done the Wyndham San Diego Bayside?
Because of the great location.
It's a great location. They're doing 10% commission.
Well,
Cape Ray is doing 7% and the Westin was doing 7%. I will share with you, for any of you that are with branded properties, we do get oftentimes to get branded properties to move from 7% to 10%. In this particular case, I wasn't as successful in that endeavor. So, and I share that with you. It's ultimately my client's decision, but I share that with you to tell you the kind of influence we have over our clients. If I were to ever do another piece of business with that individual again, absolutely, that's how I would set up the site inspections. So when, you know, when you're working with folks that have mature portfolios and what I, you know, business to the extent that I have, those are the types of things that we can influence. Now,
I'm sorry, Michelle, it's Amy. Can I interrupt really quick?
sure.
So I have a question on that, on the commission piece. Obviously I'm an independent, so we have flexible commission. But when we're looking at the breakdown, you know, we're only seeing the rates. You know, I think like Deborah mentioned, we're not seeing the concessions or anything. So say, for instance, we had a 15% commission promo going on. How would you see that in this huge list of things? Would you just have to go through every single RFP?
Commission rate.
Oh.
Commission rate. That little triangle, when it's there, I look to see why it's there. Commission.
Oh, so will that
So-
either be lower than the 10%, or if it's higher, will it show up?
It could. I'd have to test it. We'd have to test it to see.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah. If you are offering higher, that's when you want to make sure that you're sending an email and following up with a phone call. And by the way, I can do this. The other thing that you want to do with a higher commission rate, Avery Murphy, we have changed our philosophy somewhat. But I would say to the client, I would say to the site selection professional, I can do a 15% commission, or would you prefer that I do a 10% commission and 5% rebate back to the master with your client? What's going to make you look better? If it's a client that I've been working with for years, I'll probably say I'd like the 15%. If it's a brand new client that I'm trying to onboard, I'm going to ask for the 5% to go back. Now, I would ask for it, but you know, site selection professionals are human beings too. You know, you catch me on a bad day where I haven't had all my tea, I might not think to do that. So if you just like help me say, hey, I can do a 15% commission, or I can do a 10% commission and, you know, a 5% rebate back to the master so that your client gets something as well. For anyone on this call, I know that we have 1, 2, 3. We have 3 folks that are with chain hotels. If you can't do this, the 10%, you can't do the 10%, the 3% rebate back to the master, that doesn't help us. Like, you know, that it doesn't translate the same way. Trying to think of.
Michelle, can I make a comment just about, from your standpoint? I don't know if this has happened to you, but, you know, working in the Marriott world, I mean, it's pretty strict of you do not color outside the line of that commission. I'm not saying that never happens, but when we're responding on Cvent, because so often our Marriott, you know, global salespeople, the US sales team, whatever, has access to how things are bid in Cvent from us. That is why, like, I'm not going to submit a Cvent response that shows a 10% commission, because I don't want to get, you know,
you don't want to have to pay the fine for it, right?
So in that case, I would just like send you a side note, send you something offline that's
sure.
So I'm always going to have that caution, you know, yellow triangle, but it doesn't mean that I would not be willing to,
right.
You know,
and I know that you guys are, and I don't want this to be about the commission aspect.
Of course, of course.
And I'm just sharing with you like the sort of influence. Let me give you a better influence story. So my point is, it would be the same, is you would like pick up the phone, you'd send an email, you make sure that they wanted to talk to you. You might not even say like, hey, I've got something that's for you. Can you please call me? I want to make sure you look good. I want to make sure you are, you know, you're whole or you're taken care of. I'd probably do that on the phone. That's why I'm such a phone girl. And I just say, hey, I left you a voicemail, please listen to it, so that, you know, corporate wise, you're covered. Because I came from a corporate background as well. I worked with Starwood Hotels and Resorts for 4.5 years. I worked with Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. You know, there's some benefits to having those big brands as far as a marketing perspective. And then there's, you know, some, you know, everything has its pluses and minuses. Let me give you a better example. And I'm sorry, I'm going over on time here. Again, but you guys, I love spending the time with you. So we just have a couple little things I want to go through. So let me give you an example. I placed a piece of business with a hotel in San Diego. And the client had the potential of $10,000 in commission for me when I was with Helms Briscoe. If I wasn't with Helms Briscoe, that would be a $20,000 potential commission client for me. Okay. The client did meetings like 3 months out. So he wouldn't do it for a whole calendar year. He did the first meeting and he's like, hey, that worked really great. So here's my next meeting. Here's my first meeting in December. And then, you know, a month later, I got his meeting for January. And the hotel that had bid on the business declined the RFP. And I was following up with the client. Hey, did you pick your short list? Did you pick your short list? Who did you pick? And when I finally got a hold of the client's like, oh, I've already contracted with that hotel that you put me in contact with for our December meeting. And I'm like, great. Because this this hotel listened to me. They actually did a whole client event when I was with Helms Briscoe. They took us and our clients and they did a spa day and a lunch day and everything. They listened to everything that I did. So I thought, not a problem. And I said to the hotel, I said, hey, I'm so glad that you got that business. And it was off by one day. They turned it down because my client was arriving on a Monday and the meeting was ending on a Friday, but they needed the client to arrive on a Sunday and the meeting to end on a Thursday, but they didn't put it in Cvent with a little yellow thing that the date rate was wrong. They just turned it down. And I said, that's great. So, how are we going to, like, what do you need so that I can get the placement fee? At the time I was with Helms Briscoe. And they said, oh, well, they came direct. And I said, no, they didn't come direct. You were talking to them because you were detailing the December program that I gave. And that's why when you were talking to them, you asked them if they could just move a day. You didn't give me that. They did end up commissioning me. It did end up costing me the account because that whole thing was not a very pleasant situation. So fast forward, we're professionals. This is how we influence our clients. So I always continue to include that hotel. I didn't blacklist the hotel, and that hotel frequently made it to my client's short list. And we did site inspections. And then came the moment where one of my clients did a site inspection and it was really great. And she said, Michelle, I know you're going to tell me it's my choice, but I really can't pick. It's between this hotel and this other hotel. Now, I'm not going to tell you which hotel was where. One hotel was on Mission Bay. The other hotel was in downtown. And I said, okay. I used parking as an example. The hotel, this is what's going on. The hotel there's more to the story, but I don't want to narrow it down to the hotels because I don't want to share anybody's dirt. But the hotel, the hotel's parking is way out of line with everybody else's parking. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's kind of like an attitude thing. And the only way that I can tell you about it is look at the parking rates. And they're like, thank you, Michelle. And they went with the other hotel. I didn't tell the client that this hotel screwed me out of a $10,000 a year client. So I just share that with you to let you know how we have influence and how we can change things with our clients when we have that opportunity happen. So I'm going to stop sharing our screen. You guys can, I'm going to go back to, we're going to go off of the Cvent part and we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. So let me play from current slide. And I can go a little bit deeper into Cvent next time when I show you the search results and you see how all that works. That'll answer a lot of these other questions. We're going to whiz through this because we're going over. Email subject lines for an active RFP. Again, I'm putting it in the universe for all of us that you guys are getting active RFPs from your site selection professionals and you're working business. Let's just all put it out there in the universe that you are going to actually use these subject lines because people are starting to book business. We're going to do the assignment again. Congratulations to everybody who did the assignment. Here's the email subject lines, help needed. Do you have 10 minutes? Out of curiosity, Fran?
Yes.
Deborah? Tracy? And Rob, you guys all completed the assignment. Which subject line did you guys use?
I used help wanted.
I did too, but I didn't get many replies back, so I just started calling.
Okay.
And I had a little both. I just said, can you help me with a homework assignment, should take 10 minutes.
Okay. Fran, what did you do?
I put help wanted, few minutes of your time. Mhm.
Okay, so I want to, this is the part of the mastermind. So now we know that the help needed works better than the do you want 10 minutes or a little bit, or you can customize it like Deborah did to do that. Now the next thing is, I think Gabe also completed his, and I think Gabe did his via email. How many of you guys used the phone, and how many of you guys did it through email? This is, how did you get the people to respond? How did you get to connect with those 10?
Phone was easier for me.
Okay,
I did all phone.
perfect.
I did phone too.
Okay, that's Fran. And who else? Tracy, how did you do it? We might have lost Tracy. I think Tracy had a, she had to get off at 3:50, so we lost Tracy. So that's the thing. Here's the questions. I am going to start to compile these. Thank you for, we had 3 people who figured out how to do it. I don't know how to do it. Yay, you guys are all techies. This isn't about technology. This isn't about that part of the technology. This is about actually doing it. I'm going to compile all of that together so that you guys have everybody's results. Take the time to look at other people's results to see if they have uncovered business for you in that area. So we're going to repeat this. We're going to rinse and repeat. You're going to do 10 calls. Whoops. 10 calls by Wednesday, August 19th. So you're repeating this exercise and going to do it one more time so that you can get a more robust list. Did anybody, who's booking business? Did anybody uncover site selection professionals that are actually booking business?
The majority of the people that I spoke to, they are booking business, but most of them are moving business as well, you know. But yeah, they're still booking.
Okay.
I had people too. I would say, like, kind of same, most of them were moving, but out of everybody I talked to that had an average of 25 to 40 clients, they had about 2 to 3 that had either live RFPs, new RFPs, or new accounts.
Okay.
So a very small percentage.
Anybody else want to chime in what they've heard as far as booking business?
One of mine was actively booking business. Several had stuff that they had RFPs out, but clients just weren't moving on it.
Okay. I'm going to share with you one of the Avery Murphy Rockstars pitched to a large association this week on Monday, and I joined her on the call, and she got a text message back from the meeting planner. And the meeting planner said, I am so excited. I was so bummed because nothing felt normal, and to actually have you guys submit a proposal to source our programs going forward, like, it gave me hope. It made me feel good. Did you guys get any affirmations of like, thanks for reaching out, thanks for like helping us feel normal out there? Did it help make you feel normal that you're doing this exercise? I know a number of you, it's about 50% of you are like, hey, this is kind of fun. I'm having fun doing this. This is great. And then I had 50% go like, oh no, crap, I have to make 50 dials. Like, this is a little bit of an exercise. And like how did, I want, not the meeting planners, now I want to know, how did you feel doing the assignment? Did it feel good?
Felt normal.
Yeah.
Michelle, my planners were so chatty that I swear I said it was going to take 10 minutes. Each one of them kept me on the phone for like an hour. Like, they would say, I've got 10 minutes. And then they wanted to talk. And that's why it was like, that took a lot more time than I had anticipated.
So that's a good thing for us to talk about. Set a timer. Set
Yes.
a 10-minute timer. Let it go off in the background and say, oh my gosh, I so want to catch up with you, but I have to go to this meeting, or I have to go to that and start to wrap up the call, so that you can maybe set a 15-minute timer if you want to chat with them just a little bit more, but set a timer and let it actually go off in the background so that so that you can do the rest of what you need to do.
Yes.
Anybody else have anything that they'd like to share? And this is the whole part of the mastermind. Like when we're actually doing these things, then we're getting a pulse on what's happening in the marketplace.
I had a really, really good experience with every single person I talked to the point where I was actually selling. Like it was not an intentional sales call at all whatsoever, but I ended up selling every single call. And like the last one I was on, she's like, oh, you're a new brand. Tell me about it, right? Oh, where else are you located? Oh, you have a hotel in Nashville. My biggest client's in Nashville. Tell me about your hotels there. And, you know, how are you? And, you know, they've got an open RFP. I mean, I'm telling you, every single one of them was like, oh, I want to come by for drinks. I want to come by for a site. It was really interesting because I didn't go in with that intention at all. But just that's kind of the way that the conversation went. So it made me feel normal. Like, oh my God, look, I'm back to selling. You know, this is a little taste of normalcy.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, Amy. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anybody else want to share anything? Okay. I'm going to give you guys are pretty good at jumping in. So I'm going to share with you what I will do to fulfill your $97 seat deposit is, so now we've got a total of 20 calls. For those that are here that didn't complete their assignment, for those that got close to completing their assignment, as long as you do the 20 calls, because here's the thing, is for the folks that did do their 10 calls, they have that intelligence that you now have access to. So I want them to get access to your 10 calls too. I want them to get access to that intelligence as well. So please, and that's why I'm giving you the incentive is if you, even though you didn't complete last week's all 10 calls, if you complete last week's calls plus this week's calls, you will still have earned your $97 seat deposit back. I want you guys to get access to everybody having done their homework, because that's the benefit of being part of the mastermind and getting that intelligence. Does that make sense to everybody, why I'm doing that and how that's working to everybody's benefit? Okay. Well, there we did it. We did it. Call number 2. You guys are halfway through. Yay! Thank you so much, everyone. Hey, by the way, Robert, I noticed that you did everyone from Helms Briscoe. So if you guys it looks like I got a lot of conglomeration of folks. So looks like you might have hit your files, which is a great thing, but you might just want to like hit the conference direct or hit the Helms Briscoe and power through just to get some of those emails out. That might be just a little tip for you to get more to get your 10. That's my little tip to go forward with this. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. I'll post the replay by tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a good night.